Hey, welcome back to Rithmetic with Ron. Today we're going to answer the question, what is a percentage? Now, even if you don't care, you have to admit percentages are very, very useful in life, okay? So whether you do anything with math or not, you got to know them. Thanks for watching the video. Go ahead and hit subscribe, and we'll see you later. That's an outro. Let's start by taking a look at the word percent and talking about what it actually means. Percent means parts out of 100. So 100 is the basis. And we see cent right in the word percent, and you can think money there. There are 100 pennies in a dollar. Look at that. So pennies, if you had 25 pennies, right, out of 100, well, you'd have 25% of a dollar, or you'd have 1/4 of a dollar. 25 pennies is a quarter, and a quarter is 1/4 of a dollar. So we can actually use money. It's a great way to think of percentages. If I write 49 out of 100, I know it looks like divide by. You could think of it as out of. So 49 divided by 100, or 49 parts out of 100. This is 49%. 10 out of 100 equals 10%. So percentages are a way of expressing how much of something we have for every 100 of them, okay? And again, pennies are a great way to think about this. If you have 37 pennies, I'll just say 37 cents, okay? That is 37% of $1. Look at that. I did that backwards. Okay? 37 cents is 37% of a dollar because you have 37 pennies out of a dollar has 100 pennies. 37 out of 100, this is how many parts we have out of 100. 37 cents out of the 100 cents to make a dollar, 37%. So with percentages, anytime you see a fraction like this with 100 as the denominator, the percentage is just the number in the numerator. If the denominator is 100, then the percentage is the same as the numerator, okay? And that's even true for decimals. What if I do 3.8 out of 100? Well, because 100 is the denominator, because it's out of 100, the percentage is just going to be that same number in the numerator. We can think of percentages very much like we think of fractions. Let's take a delicious pie here, and let's cut this pie into 5 slices, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. A 5-slice pie. And let's say that I shade in 2 of them, all right? If I were to ask you how much of the pie is shaded, you might write something like this. 2 out of 5, okay? 2/5 of the pie is shaded, and that would be correct. But we can also use this to express a percentage. How many pieces of pie out of 100 are shaded? And the question is, well, there's not 100 pieces, so how would we know? And the answer is to go back and review some of the things that we learned about adding fractions and changing common denominators, and remembering that we can take a ratio or a fraction, we can multiply it by 1. I call these special ones here because they have a value of 1, but they don't look like ones, but they have a numerical value of 1. So if I multiply 2/5 by 1, I'm still going to get a fraction that has a value of 2/5, even though the numbers will be different. 2 times 20 is 40. 5 times 20 is 100. Check these 2 fractions in a calculator, and you will find out that they're equal. Both 2/5 and 40 over 100 in a calculator both give you a decimal of 0.4. So they are equivalent, even though they have different numbers. And we got there by multiplying by 1. So it didn't change the value, just the numbers. And now look at what we have. We have our original 2/5, 2 pieces of pie out of 5 that make up the whole, but we've rearranged it, we've changed it converted it to an equivalent fraction that has a denominator of 100. And so now if the denominator is 100, then the percentage is just the number in the numerator. And we can say that 40% of the pie is shaded. What about the unshaded parts? Well, the pieces that are unshaded, there's 3 that we're interested in. There's 5 pieces of the pie that make up the whole. And so 3/5 of the pie is not shaded. If I multiply 3/5 by that same special one, 3 times 20 is 60, and 5 times 20 is 100. Look, there we go. A denominator of 100 means that the percentage is just the number in the numerator. So here we would say that 60% of the pie is unshaded. If I take the pieces that are shaded and the pieces that are not shaded and I add them together, I should get the whole pie. Let's check that out. 60% unshaded plus the 40% that is shaded. And if I add that together, I get 100%, which means the whole thing. 100% means everything or all of it, the whole thing. There's no parts or pieces left behind. Let's do just a couple more examples. What if I did 64 out of 100? What is that as a percentage? Yeah, that's going to be 64%. Why? Because my denominator is 100, so the percentage is the same as the number in the numerator. What if I do 0.5 out of 100? Well, that's going to be 0.5%. Last example, can I do this? Can I do 125 out of 100? Well, sure I can. That's an improper fraction, and we could convert it to a mixed number, and so it's a real number. It exists, and because it has a denominator of 100, we're just going to say that the numerator is our percentage, 125%, and that just means more than one whole thing, more than one whole unit. How do we relate decimals and percentages? They're tied together. They're connected. So let's talk about that quick. If I take 64 divided by 100, well, I could use long division on this or a calculator, and if I wanted a decimal, I would get 0.64. 0.64, but I also know that if I have 100 as a denominator, that the numerator is my percentage. Look at how these numbers are related. The digits are the same, and yet 64 looks like a whole number, and this number here is a decimal. And what we see is that the difference between these is that the decimal is 2 digits removed here from what it is over here. In other words, 0.64, I could say 64.0%. The decimal is 2 units away. And look at what we have here. We've divided by 100. In another video, go ahead and click that link, you will see that we talked about how to divide numbers by powers of 10. We talked about how we could take the number 64 with the decimal right there. And if we're dividing, we're going to move to the left. And since there are 2 zeros, we're going to move 2 places. That was a different video talking about dividing and multiplying by powers of 10, but it works. And it would have given us a 0.64, but we also know from today's lesson that that's 64%. So what can we do with this? Well, we can say that if you have a percentage and you want to convert it and change it to a decimal, what you're going to do is move the decimal point to the left 2 places. So 37% would be 0.37. When we do this, look at the number 37 in the percent and recognize this looks like a whole number, and so the decimal point is really sitting right there on the right-hand side of the 7. So 1, 2 places gets us a 0.37. If you do it the other way and you want to convert 0.74 into a percent, you're going to do the opposite, okay? To go from a decimal to a percentage, we're going to move the decimal point 2 spaces to the right. So 0.74 as a decimal is the same as 74%. What we've talked about today can be helpful in turning fractions or ratios into percentage. One way that I can solve 1/4 and convert it to a percentage is to multiply by the special 1 and get a fraction that has a denominator of 100. If I can get a denominator of 100, then I know that the numerator is the percentage. Well, what kind of a special 1 is going to get this answer? I need something here that when I multiply by 4, I get 100. That's going to be 25. So this is a special 1, because the top and bottom are the same. 4 times 25 is 100. 1 times 25 is 25. And so this equals 25%. Let's look at another example here. How about 7 out of 25? I can do the same thing, and I'm going to multiply by 4, because 25 times 4 gives me 100. If I have a 4 on the bottom of my special 1, then a 4 needs to be on the top, and 7 times 4. This means that 7 out of 25 is really 28%. So today we learned what a percentage really is. We drew pictures to really understand what they are, how they work, and they're very useful. Send any comments, go ahead and hit subscribe, and thanks for watching.